This video is specifically for the beginner to teach you how to make your cuts, or more specifically, to teach you how to learn to make your cuts. There's a process that's very helpful, and I'm going to teach you that today. Welcome back. So making cuts can be one of the more mysterious parts about learning how to make moonshine. And because it takes a little bit of experience to get good at it, and when you first start, you don't have that experience yet. So I'm going to show you a very specific process for making cuts that will teach you how to make cuts to your own preferences. So I do have this guide sheet. You can get it at stillintheclear.com/guides. It's a free download. It actually comes with several guide sheets. I have a bunch of them. This is just one of them, but it gives you a jumping off point. So it does it by percentages. So if you're brand new, you take 30% here for your heads, 40% for your hearts, 30% for your tails, and that makes it easy. But when you start getting into it, you want to develop your own style for making your cuts. This entire, I collected one entire run. I say an entire run. I went down to 56 proof. So I left a little bit of alcohol on the table, but that's all right. I'm going to use this run to teach you the process for making your cuts and learning how to make them the way that you like. So let's get right into it. As I collected my run, let me see if I can get a better view for you. As I collected my run, I numbered the jars. So this is, let me turn that around so y'all can read it more easily. This is jar number 1. It came off at 144 proof. And then there was jar 2, 150 proof, jar 3, 150. Now, typically your proof does not go up, but at the very beginning, it was coming out a little too fast. It took me a jar or two to dial it in to get it to the flow rate that I wanted. And then you'll see that all the consecutive jars, they just start slowly going down. The reason I number them and put the proof on there is so that I keep track of the order of the run. And this is so that when I get to the part of the run is done, and now I've got to decide what of all of this I'm going to keep. Having these numbers is helpful because we are going to start tasting and smelling from the middle of the run. Okay, the reason we want to start in the middle of the run is because that's where the hearts are. That's where the alcohol is going to taste the best. And we're going to start there and work our way out to get to the tails and to get to the heads. So if these are all numbered, then I can simply say, okay, I've got 31 jars. Just divide that number in half. That's 15 and a half. And so I'm going to start with jar number 15. I'm going to smell it. I'm going to taste it. That gives me a baseline. And then I'm going to work my way to the tails, going to the higher numbers on the jars towards the end of the run. I want to smell and taste each one until it gets to a point where I don't like the smell or the taste. And then that is where the tails start, okay? Then I will come back to the middle of the run. So I started with jar 15 or 16, I don't remember. Started with jar 15. Now I'll start smelling and tasting each jar heading to the front of the run or towards the heads, until I get to a point where I no longer like the taste or I no longer like the smell. That will be the jar that I won't keep. That's where the heads start. Then I will set that aside. Everything else in the middle, that's what I'll keep. That's where you start. And then as you gain experience being able to smell and taste your run, you will find sometimes, oh, I kind of like this jar that's in the heads. You'll keep it. Or I kind of like this jar that's in the tails, and you'll keep that. Remember, making cuts is completely personal. It's all up to you. You don't have to do it the way someone else would do it. Do it the way you do it, the way you like it. So I'm just going to do a few of these jars. I'm not going to do an entire video of me smelling and tasting each one of these jars, but I will, I've got to do it anyway for the other video that was actually for this run. And I will just record parts of it for you so that you don't have to watch the whole process, which would be very boring. Also, I am going to keep this jar and this bottle of water because I'm not going to swallow every time I take a sip. I'm not going to swallow it because that's going to be taking a taste of every jar. And I don't want to get too sauced just trying to decide which jars to keep. So I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to give it a smell. It smells really good. I'm going to take a little sip, put it in my mouth. I'm going to swish it around, and I'm not going to swallow it. I'm going to spit it out. I swallowed it. Now, as a beginner, what you're doing with that middle jar is you're getting the baseline of what the hearts are. So you shouldn't be tasting, any of the acetone flavors that you find in the heads, and you shouldn't be tasting any of the really oily kind of wet cardboard kind of flavor that you get from the tails. And that's your baseline. And then I'll start working down to the next jar towards the tails. And the reason you go from the center to the tails first is because in the heads, the alcohols are much more, they're sharper and more stringent. The proofs are higher. And if you started in the heads, you're going to get burnt, you're going to burn your palate out. And especially, you don't start doing your tasting with the first jar. That's the heads. By the time you get down to your hearts, tasting each jar, your palate's going to be pretty fried. And you don't want to do that first. That's why we end up in the heads last. So let's go to the next jar. And also what I'm going to do, the jars that I'm going to keep, I'm going to set to this side. The jars that I'm not going to keep in the final product, I'm going to set to this side. I'm still going to keep them, but they're going to go in a faints jar. Okay, so you can see over here, this is what I've kept. There's about 2.5 gallons there. And then over here are the jars I'm not saving, and I will just put these into the faints jug that I've got in the back and discard that. And the main thing to remember about this, so that you don't stress too much about it, is you could keep everything in this run, blend it all together, and it's not going to hurt you. There's not enough methanol in this entire batch to make you go blind or anything like that. Don't worry about all of that. There's not a right or a wrong way to do your cuts and make your blending. It's all about what you want to do. It's all about your tastes and your preferences and how you like your liquor to taste. There's so many different ways that people are doing their cuts that don't focus on how I've done mine. Use this process that I've just showed you to teach yourself what it is you like and do your cuts that way. And don't forget about these guide sheets. They're extremely helpful. I take different little aspects of distilling, break them down into 1 page worth of information so that it's easy to digest. And they're completely free. It's a free download. It's yours. Once you download it, you can print it off. You can keep it on your phone, keep it on your laptop, refer to it later. It doesn't matter. And that's stillintheclear.com/guides. I'll put a link up here or down in the show notes. You can find them there too. So hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you on the next one.